My name is Ron Gurbatowski. I'm the chairman of the Rhode Island Energy Facility Study Board. We're here today for a public comment hearing regarding what we refer to as docket number SB 2022-02, relates to the caption South Coast Wind Energy LLC's application for a license to construct major energy facilities, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, formerly Mayflower Wind Energy LLC. I have a notice in front of me, which is published. I'm not going to read the entire notice. I'm going to refer to parts of it, and then we're going to have after I do that, there will be a very brief presentation by the applicant, and then we'll go to public comments. We do, as I mentioned before, we have a sign-up sheet, and if you haven't signed up, anyone, don't be bashful, you can walk down here and you can sign up with Pat. It makes it easier for us to just follow the names going through. But if you haven't done yet, don't worry, there's time for you to do it, because we have a lot of names going first. But let me refer to the sign-up sheet first. I mean the notice first. Pursuant to the provisions of the Rhode Island General Laws, the Energy Facility Siting Board is conducting a public hearing. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd. And we are in the auditorium of Portsmouth Middle School. The purpose is to hear public comment regarding a project that is now pending before the board. On May 31st, 2022, South Coast Wind Energy filed an application to site and construct a portion of transmission and connector facilities located within Rhode Island that would connect South Coast Wind's offshore wind generation facility, located approximately 51 nautical miles southeast of the Rhode Island coast, to the regional transmission system at Brayton Point in the town of Somerset, Massachusetts. The South Coast Wind Generation Facility is capable of generating up to an estimated 2,400 megawatts. The public comment hearing relates to an approximately 1,200 megawatt set of two high voltage direct current submarine export power cables with a nominal voltage of plus or minus 320 kilovolts, plus associated communications cabling, generally located within a single export corridor with an approximate length of 20 miles within Rhode Island state waters and underground on Quiddick Island. I want to, that particular transmission line, which is jurisdiction of the board, is obviously connecting the offshore wind facility, which is located in federal waters, to the transmission system on land. It's important to note that the applicant is not seeking board approval for the associated offshore wind turbines, offshore substations, or any Massachusetts interconnection. Those parts of the project are outside of the board's jurisdiction. It may seem kind of strange, but it is broken up. There's different jurisdiction over the parts of the project. But where we have jurisdiction is the transmission that's either in Rhode Island waters or on Rhode Island land. To the extent it's in Massachusetts waters or in federal waters, we have no authority whatsoever on those parts of the project. We do have, as I mentioned, we have a sign-up sheet. There's a lot of people here tonight, and with this many people, I'm going to try to ask everyone to stay within 5 minutes of comments. I'm not going to be totally rigid about it, but when it gets 5 minutes or so, I'll probably at least send a signal to try to close out. And I hope everyone realizes I'm not trying to be rude to you, but with this many people out here, we'll probably be here quite a while. So what I'm going to start with right now is the applicant, who is going to make a brief presentation. And I want to note that my fellow board member Terry Gray just arrived. So, Mr. Peter, here. Christian, you want to introduce? Yeah, you just have her introduce herself. That'd be great. Okay, go right ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Well, thank you. My name is Kelsey Perry, for the record, K-E-L-S-E-Y, P-E-R-R-Y. I am the External Affairs Manager for South Coast Wind. I've been with the project for almost 5 years now. And tonight I will give a brief high-level overview of the South Coast Wind project as it pertains to the Rhode Island Energy Facility Siting Board. We can move to the next slide. As you can see on this overview slide, we will walk through key components of the project like routing, construction, community impacts, and project benefits. Before we start, I'd just like to highlight my team who's here in the room with us tonight. Ron mentioned Christian Capizzo, our local counsel, We also have Kelly Smith, our onshore engineering manager, Jennifer Flood, head of permitting, Rebecca Ullman, head of government affairs, Andrew McGregor, head of technical, Sam Ashey, fisheries manager, as well as other members of our team tonight who are here to listen to public comment. Next slide, please. So just to start with who we are, Ocean Winds is the developer of South Coast Wind. Ocean Winds itself is a joint venture between ENGIE and EDP Renewables, and is an offshore wind leader with a robust portfolio of 15 projects across 8 countries. Zooming into South Coast Wind, our project lease area is located about 59 miles southeast of Rhode Island's coast, or about 30 miles south of Martha's Vineyard. At full build-out, the project could supply approximately 2,400 megawatts of electricity, enough to power over 1 million homes in New England. This project, South Coast Wind 1, that we're talking about tonight, is for approximately 1,200 megawatts. This slide shows how the electricity travels from the offshore turbines to the onshore grid interconnection point. We use a combination of alternating current AC and high efficiency direct current DC in order to move the electricity from the turbines all the way to the point of interconnection. Our point of interconnection, as Ron mentioned, is in Massachusetts. It's at the Brayton Point Power Station in Somerset, Massachusetts, which was once a coal plant, now being repurposed for clean energy. Zooming in more to Rhode Island waters, the route includes about 70 miles of cable in federal waters, 20 miles in Rhode Island state waters, and 2 miles underground Portsmouth to eventually lead to Massachusetts. These cables will be buried, typically about 6 feet underneath the seafloor, and will follow a defined corridor in order to reduce environmental impacts. Here is what's going on in Portsmouth. Really what we're discussing tonight in Portsmouth, the 2-mile underground cable route has been carefully selected to minimize disruption. The cables will come ashore at the intersection of Boyd Lane and Park Avenue, continue under Boyd's Lane, and then head northeast towards Anthony Road and under Montauk Country Club. There will be no permanent above ground structures, just manhole covers where needed along the route. Construction and operation details. Construction will include a combination of trenching and horizontal directional drilling, both of which are widely used methods in order to bury underground transmission cables. The overall construction timeline is expected to last about 2 years, but this will be broken into discrete activities that will happen in different phases. Horizontal directional drilling, or HDD, will take about 2 to 4 months at each location. These construction activities may happen simultaneously at each location. Trenching will take place over 6 to 12 months, advancing about 50 to 100 feet per day, depending on the conditions. And lastly, cable installation will take about 2 to 4 months at fault locations every 1/3 of a mile along the route. So those are all of our construction activities. We're coordinating closely with the town of Portsmouth and the Department of Transportation to address traffic, noise, and scheduling concerns, and our website, southcoastwind.com, will provide up-to-date construction information when we are in that phase. Once construction is complete, the good news is that the cables are underground and completely silent. There won't be any traffic, noise, or visual impacts to the community during operations. Project need. Why we're here tonight. South Coast Wind is a needed project in Rhode Island because it provides a reliable, ready, and responsible solution to meet Rhode Island and the region's energy and climate goals. For example, Rhode Island and New England more broadly face a growing risk of energy shortfalls, especially during the winter and summer peak periods. As electrification increases in our region and fossil fuel sources continue to be retired, the regional grid is under more pressure to deliver reliable power year-round. Offshore wind strengthens the region's energy system by improving reliability and security, increasing fuel diversity, and supporting nearby demand centers. The South Coast Wind Project in particular will play a key role in helping Rhode Island meet its clean energy mandates. Under the Renewable Energy Standard and the Act on Climate, the state is legally required to achieve 100% renewable energy by 2033, and offshore wind is essential to meeting that goal. Moving on, currently there's no infrastructure in place to bring the power from our lease area to our point of interconnection at Brayton Point, so the infrastructure is needed. And lastly, this is a project that is really ready to go. We've been in development for over 7 years. Many members of our team have been here for several years working on this project, and we have a mature, advanced design that is aligned with state and regional energy plans. Next slide. Socioeconomic benefits. Any large-scale energy development project, whether it's renewable or conventional, will come with socioeconomic benefits. South Coast Wind will support thousands of jobs in Rhode Island and the region through construction and long-term operations. The project has signed labor agreements for both construction and first-of-its-kind operations and maintenance phases for the project. There are major opportunities for local businesses and supply chain growth as we build out this project. And we've also committed $23 million to the town of Portsmouth through a host community agreement providing direct benefits over 33 years. Moving right along, as mentioned, the project has been in development for 7 years now. We have undergone a multi-year review process, including robust permitting at the federal, state, and local levels. All required permits for the South Coast Wind 1 project have been issued by Massachusetts. We're continuing and have worked closely with agencies like the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Coastal Resources Management Council, and DEM to meet all environmental and safety standards set out. And through this permitting process, we've, of course, conducted extensive environmental and engineering studies to guide our decisions and route selections in these permits. These include activities and surveys, as mentioned on the slide, including wildlife, sediment, noise, fishing activity, and more. The results have helped us design a project that avoids sensitive areas and minimizes community and ecological impacts. And last but not least, we have made a strong effort to keep the Portsmouth community informed about the project as we've been developing it. We've been holding open houses, we've sent mailers, we've done door-to-door outreach and have held local meetings. Our team is continuing to be committed to being accessible and transparent through the development process, construction, and beyond. And that's it. I just want to thank everyone again for taking the time to be here tonight. This is a great turnout, and we really look forward to hearing all of your comments. We're here to listen and to provide information as it's helpful. You're welcome to come up to our team after the meeting. And if you'd like to reach out to us, please email info@southcoastwind.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Perry. I do want to note that I do want to note that my fellow Commissioner Meredith Brady arrived, and by the way, it was not their fault that they came in a little late. Unfortunately, the invite that went to them had the wrong location address. Otherwise, they would have been here before this began, so I don't want anyone thinking that they were just arriving late because of the early enough. But anyway, so I have a list here. I'm going to go one at a time, and remembering that we have about a 5-minute limit per person, and there's a sign-up sheet that continues to be here. And I ask, don't be bashful to walk down and sign up if you haven't done already. So the first person I'm going to call on is a Mr. John Homer, if I pronounced the name correctly.
Yeah.
So we have the microphone over there turned on.
Hi, my name's Victoria Layton.
Good. Yeah, you got to get closer there.
Hi, my
Up,
name's
up.
Victoria.
See when the red light's on. There you
I
go.
apologize. Thank you. My name's Victoria Layton. Thank you for letting me cut the line. I am a local emergency medicine physician, and I would like to speak in support. So I'm a local emergency medicine physician, and I want to speak in support of wind energy. The effects of climate change are happening right now, and I see them every single day in my practice. I see people with asthma exacerbations. I see people with tick-borne illness coming into the emergency department. I see people who suffer heat stroke, cardiovascular disease. heart attacks, strokes, as well as psychiatric illness. Everything's exacerbated by climate change. This is happening right now, and we need to use absolutely everything in our power in order to reduce our use of fossil fuels. For us, for our children, this is paramount, and especially with what's happening in Washington right now, we must do everything that we can to try to promote wind energy, solar energy, and to reduce how much fossil fuels we are taking out of the ground. And so I'm speaking in very strong support, very, very strong support of this project. Please let it go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. So next,
Please.
I should be able to do that. The next person I
Thank
have on the
you.
list is Timmons Roberts. I'm sorry. You're just answering the request. So go ahead, Ms. Barker.
Good evening, Chair Duratowski, Director Gray, and Director Brady. My name is Amanda Barker, and I am the Clean Energy Program Manager at Green Energy Consumers Alliance. Green Energy Consumers Alliance. We are an environmental nonprofit based in Providence, Rhode Island, with a mission to empower consumers and communities to speed a just transition to a zero-carbon world. I want to start out by pointing out that there is broad public support for offshore wind. A recent Bar Foundation poll found that the majority of Rhode Islanders support offshore wind. And that's because they recognize the technology comes with a long list of benefits for our state. First, this project will help us comply with 2 state laws. The first is the Act on Climate, which mandates emissions reductions. And we know that offshore wind is the most immediate and scalable clean electricity option available to us. South Coast Wind alone will avoid over 4 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions annually. The second state law that this project will help us comply with is the 100% renewable energy standard by 2033. According to a 2021 RADA report, Rhode Island must procure up to 1,100 megawatts of offshore wind to meet the 100% renewable energy standard by 2033. As you know, we only have 430 megawatts procured to date, 30 megawatts from Block Island and 400 megawatts from Revolution Wind, which is currently under construction. These 200 megawatts from South Coast would be a crucial step towards closing that gap. Offshore wind is also crucial for energy independence and price stability. It offers a local energy source at a fixed price that is insulated from global fossil fuel markets. In 2022, geopolitical events like Putin's invasion of Ukraine caused energy prices here in our region to spike. If projects like South Coast Wind were up and running at that time, it would have helped mitigate that price spike that we felt here. Offshore wind is also crucial for winter reliability. It performs best during cold snaps, aligning with when we will need it most as people transition to heat pumps. This also helps lower winter price spikes due to the fact that in the wintertime, natural gas for electricity competes with natural gas for heating, which causes prices to rise. Offshore wind at scale would cause us to have to call on less and less expensive fossil fuel power plants in the wintertime as it continues to scale up. The Union of Concerned Scientists did an analysis that shows that offshore wind will reduce blackout risks during winter peaks, and I've submitted written testimony that links to that study. Offshore wind also provides several economic and community benefits to our state. South Coast Wind is expected to generate 17,000 local job years, largely with union labor. It's also estimated to have $3.5 billion in economic activity, including investments in environmental justice communities, which is crucial that we bring them along in this just transition. It also provides a $23 million host community agreement to the town of Portsmouth, which brings direct local benefits to the town. In conclusion, Rhode Island needs more projects like this one, not only to meet our state climate laws, but to ensure reliable, affordable, local clean energy and long-term economic growth. Green Energy Consumers Alliance strongly urges approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you don't need a spelling on that one. And behind Mr. Roberts is Emily Koo and Tara Miller. Mr. Roberts, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking as an individual, but I've spent about 35 years studying climate change and clean energy policy. and doing research at 3 universities. The facts are, climate change is real, climate change is bad, it's human caused. These are what the science has told us, mountains of science. It's a consensus, it's not a question. And the other part that's the consensus is that we have solutions. We have technology and policy that's viable to address this problem. I've attended at United Nations climate negotiations around the world with my students from Brown University's Climate and Development Lab from our Institute at Brown for Environment and Society. And it's become clear to me that if we in the United States don't act on climate change, nobody else will. Or if they do, they won't act at a rate that's sufficient to what we know, how bad this problem is. And here we are in the, well, basically the most prosperous corner of the United States, and if we don't lead the way, even in this tough time, no one will. My lab at Brown worked with the Stockholm Environment Institute. We rehired the modeler that did the modeling in the 2016 Rhode Island plan for how to address climate change, how to reduce emissions. And we reran the numbers with greater ambition that was based on the science. And it turned out that one of our models in our 2019 report was exactly the pathway that we need to be on for the Act on Climate goals. And what we found was that we need to double the amount of electricity that we produce in the state, exactly for the reason that if we're going to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, which are the cause of 80% of the problem and the warming that we're experiencing and will experience. If we're going to do that, we have to adopt electric vehicles and heat pumps and all that kind of stuff. If we're going to double our electricity, we put in all the analysis of all the different available technologies. And wind, offshore wind, came right to the top. It could be producing about half of our electricity in the future that we need to get to. And South Coast wind could produce a quarter of that electricity for our state. One project, 59 miles off of our shore. We are not going to really experience any downsides from this project. Wind has impacts, don't get me wrong, and we have to address the communities and the industrial sectors, the fishermen especially, that have some uncertainties and adjustments that will have to happen. We have to help them. But these are minuscule impacts. It looked in the big picture compared to the continued dependence on fossil fuels. Some analyses show it's about 400 times more mining that will have to happen if we continue on fossil fuels than it does to produce, and even the disposal and all those things, transport, disposal, refining, oil field waste. I lived in Louisiana for 10 years, and the people who live with the fossil fuel infrastructure that we rely on for our energy system, they're the ones suffering, and the longer we remain dependent on that, the longer they suffer. So we have to look at these, we have to compare always a project like this with the continued reliance on fossil fuels. Again, 1/4 of Rhode Island's electricity. There's been a lot of sensationalized claims about the downsides of offshore wind. They are being fed by an industry of think tanks. Some of them we have shown are funded by the fossil fuel industry itself. They are no fools. They are an industry in its death throes, and they are seeking to create havoc, to make it impossible for us to rationally address our energy needs in this transition. They're stoking fears. People are freaked out. If you look on the internet at the claims, you will be freaked out. But we found, a memo from 2012 showing that they plan to foster local opposition. Another talk in about 2021 by a think tank person talking to a town, talking about how where the cables come to shore, that's the Achilles heel of the offshore wind industry. Attack them there. So what you're seeing here is another attempt to go after the Achilles heel of an important energy source that we need. This project meets the criteria that the Energy Facilities Siting Board is supposed to evaluate. Does it meet the energy needs of the state and the region? Yes. Is its cost justified? Yes. Is it in compliance with environmental laws? Yes. And is it harming the environment? No. This is very minor costs for the amount of social benefit. Oh, and that's your other criterion, and this project absolutely meets that. So thank you very much.
5 minutes, 18 seconds.
Thank you. What I'm going to do is, I know when you're speaking, because I've experienced it myself, when I put a finger up like that, it's approximately 1 minute left. If anyone, if we're within 18 seconds, I still think that's pretty good. So, anyway, now we have Emily Koo, last name spelled K-O-O. That will be followed by Tara Miller and Camille Nixon. Ms.
Good
Koo?
evening, members of the board. Thank you very much. My name is Emily Koo, and I'm here on behalf of my organization, Acadia Center, to express my strong support for South Coast Wind's application to construct these energy facilities in Portsmouth, Rhode Island as part of this docket. Acadia Center is a nonprofit research and advocacy organization committed to advancing...
I know you're limited time, but just slow down a little bit.
Yes, thank you. Committed to advancing the clean energy future. Our state and our region has robust wind resources off our coast. Offshore wind paired with battery storage will upgrade us to reliable, price-stable, clean energy. The siting and construction of this portion of transmission and connector facilities in Portsmouth and on the island positions this community as a critical connector to that resource. Rhode Islanders felt the sting of high energy costs this winter as colder than usual temperatures drove up utility bills. And right now, New Englanders depend on gas purchased from a global market for roughly half of our electricity. On cold winter days, gas is often diverted for home heating, forcing our electric grid to call upon costlier, dirtier energy sources. Offshore wind produces power consistently during the winter during these times, and the capacity coming online from South Coast Wind will be critical to keeping the lights on and protecting us from blackouts, particularly in the winter. An independent analysis of a severe New England cold snap in the winter of 2017, excuse me, 2018 showed that offshore wind resources would have significantly reduced wholesale power prices due to their consistently high output during cold weather conditions. A more recent analysis by Synapse Energy Economics also highlighted that offshore wind to New England's generation mix would both reduce the cost of electricity in the region due to the way that our regional grid operator purchases power, which will in turn lower customer bills and act as a hedge against future natural gas price fluctuations, potentially resulting in even greater savings. Building out more renewable energy slowly but surely divorces our bill from polluting, price volatile fossil gas. As Rhode Islanders, we deserve a modern energy system, and this transmission project is a critical piece of building out reliable, price-stable electricity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker,
Hi, everybody, and thanks all you green people are all together. Anyway, I'm a grandmother, and which is the most important position that I have now. I'm here to help protect our planet from climate change for our grandchildren, because I don't want to be the one who says that it's up to them to fix whatever mistakes have been made. Woo! Woo! It's up to us to stop kicking the can down the road and to repair the damage that's been done if we can. We're to provide a healthy planet for our children and our grandchildren as best as we can because we love them. Our best today is making it so offshore wind can help temper our need for fossil fuels and thus help protect our planet from climate change. You know, there's a lot of different methods to do that, hydrogen, solar, but wind is in front of us now, and we need to think about that. We have family living all over the United States, and they're going through tough climate times. Heat waves, tornadoes, wildfires, and severe flooding. And this is not normal. I've been around a long time, and it's not right. But we have a chance to turn climate change around. We, my husband and I, live in Rhode Island. in Warren, and on July 3rd, I expect a lot of you experienced this, we had an unbelievable storm, and limbs were falling on our house and all around us. It was the fastest moving storm that was stronger than any that I've ever experienced. And the Weather Channel, through Alexa, when we asked her, said that it was a sunny day. And we asked her twice, before it happened and then while it was happening. So I don't know what's going on, but we used to get warnings about this, and we didn't this time, and it was the worst ever. So there's some fishy stuff going on, and I don't see it changing. I think we have to really work at fixing this. This is not right. A huge tree fell across our street even and prevented us from escape. Power was out for 3 days, and this is terrifying proof that nature is not only warning us, but shaking us, and we had better listen. We know what to do. We have this now in front of us, so let's do it. We know right now from the experts that solar power and wind power complement each other very well and offer us stability, especially in the winter. But also, wind is strong at night, while solar does its work in the day. When one is weaker, the other is stronger. This is resilience. We're lucky to have the opportunity to embrace offshore wind that produces the least environmentally impactful energy of any energy supply. How wonderful. Right here in our Rhode Island, offshore wind will allow us to stop burning so much fossil fuel for energy. It's an awesome thing to embrace. And please listen to the experts, to the oceanographers, the scientists, who tell us that offshore wind is safe for not only all wildlife, but that includes marine wildlife. It turns out that fish don't like the warming waters either. Ignoring our duty to curb climate change will result in more deaths, economic problems, and fortunes that will never be made. The middle class will be impoverished. What we are seeing is abnormal and terrifying, and we must protect our children from having to deal with this crisis. If we do not act now, knowing that it will not get easier, where will we be? Where will they be? Let's use our brains and our hearts to keep Rhode Island a beacon of protection for our planet, as it has been. Please, I beg of you, embrace offshore wind and make it a reality. Let's let Rhode Island show the world how it's done. Let's be proud to tell our kids that we helped to save our planet. We Rhode Islanders show our backbone. We Rhode Islanders showed our backbone. Tell them to the moneyed fossil fuel interests in order to protect everyone. We help avert climate change by signing up for alternative energies like what we have in front of us today. Offshore wind power. Yes! Thanks very much to all of you for helping us to protect our children, our grandchildren, our Rhode Island, and our planet.
Karina Barbara Francis following Mr. Stang.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all coming back around to me. Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Tara Miller, and I'm the Northeast Campaign Manager for Offshore Wind Energy for the National Wildlife Federation. I'm a member of the Rhode
Just
Island...
speak a little slower for this member.
Someone's talking
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm a member of the Rhode Island State Committee of New England for Offshore Wind. The National Wildlife Federation has long advocated for the responsible development of offshore wind energy as a large-scale clean energy solution critical to combating the climate crisis. We urge the Energy Facilities Siting Board to approve South Coast Wind's application for a license to construct major energy facilities in Rhode Island. Offshore wind energy offers many benefits to Rhode Island, such as increasing grid reliability, reducing reliance on volatile fossil fuel prices, creating local jobs and economic growth, improving public health, and meeting climate goals. All of this is possible while simultaneously minimizing impacts on wildlife through responsible siting, development, operations, and decommissioning. Particularly at a moment when the federal government is stalling progress, it is more important than ever for states to make clear how important offshore wind is to their long-term energy goals. We are pleased to see that the environmental mitigation measures South Coast Wind has committed to in its construction and operations plan regarding cable onshoring include using horizontal directional drilling, employing cable burial and shielding, and minimizing sediment and seabed disturbance for the placement of scour protection and during the use of horizontal directional drilling. In addition, federal agencies require South Coast Wind to conduct monitoring of bottom disturbing activities, use specific types of scoured materials focused on minimizing impacts to habitat, microsite export cables to avoid sensitive habitat, and avoid in-water cable installation activities from January 15th to October 14th to avoid impacts to winter flounder in nearshore waters. These measures are part of a broader set of mitigation requirements and commitments the project must fulfill across other aspects of construction and operations, both offshore and onshore. There are no scenarios to mitigate catastrophic climate change without responsibly developed offshore wind, particularly in the Northeast, where offshore wind is the largest untapped clean energy source accessible with commercially available advanced technology. Research shows that climate change is already impacting Rhode Island. According to the Rhode Island Executive Climate Change Coordinating Council Science and Technology Advisory Board, the state's experiencing rising sea levels, more severe storms and heavy precipitation events, both coastal and inland flooding, health risks from heat and air pollution, increased vulnerability of physical infrastructure, changes to biodiversity, and the acidification and warming of marine waters and subsequent effects on wildlife and fisheries. We champion the climate benefits of offshore wind, and we advocate for policies and actions needed to bring it to scale in an environmentally protective manner. Rhode Island led the nation and provided an invaluable model with the responsible development of Block Island Wind Farm. Offshore wind energy can play a critical role in achieving Rhode Island's goal of reducing emissions by 45% by 2030 under the Act on Climate. We strongly urge the Energy Facility Siting Board to approve South Coast Wind's application to install submarine transmission cables, which will bring the energy from the project ashore in Rhode Island. Thank you.
Thank you. Watch the pronunciation Gearwares, perhaps? I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. But Mr. Stang?
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Stang, that's spelled S-T-A-N-G. I'm with the Conservation Law Foundation in Providence. I'm one of the senior attorneys. CLF is a nonprofit environmental advocacy organization serving New England. As the ocean state, which is strategically located in the northeast corner of the United States, Rhode Island is truly blessed with an extremely reliable, consistent, local, and lowest cost energy source, which is offshore wind. You don't need to mine it, drill it, refine it, transport it well over 1,000 miles to then be purchased and incinerated. Plentiful offshore wind is constantly blowing through our back door. You only need to erect wind turbines to capture it and transmission lines to bring it on shore. The best thing, this massive amount of offshore wind is available 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Furthermore, the state of Rhode Island, 2021, enacted the Act on Climate. That was done because the need to address the issue of climate change caused by increased greenhouse gas emissions. The Act on Climate specifically mandates that this greenhouse gas emissions by the state shall be 45% below 1990 levels by 2030. We've made a good start so far in getting well past the first milestone, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And everyone is going to come together, act together to make it happen. Specifically, the Act on Climate provides authority to state departments, agencies, commissions, councils, instrumentalities, such as this board, in order to exercise among your priorities fulfilling the Act on Climate. This project goes a long way to fulfilling this Act on Project Third, this will provide hundreds of high-paying, local, union jobs in this area. That means the money is made here, spent here, and not sent anywhere else. It makes all the sense in the world to approve this. Thank you for your time.
Next person I have is Korean Properties, Karen Gleason. Is that your last name? I can't tell if it's hyphenated last name.
Corinna Barber is the first name.
Okay,
Francis is the last.
very good. Thank you, Ms. Francis.
Thank you, members of the board, for this opportunity to talk on this important issue. We are well beyond needing to talk about whether a climate crisis is upon us. We need to make hard choices about what strategies to adopt to mitigate the fallout. There are no perfect choices. Every single form of energy that humans have invented has some negative for the environment, and as it turns out, for us as well. Whether it's damming a river, mining lithium, having to recycle solar panels at the end of their life cycle, or pumping greenhouse gases into the environment. None of them are perfect. But human society has not slowed down its need for energy. So we need to make some hard choices by weighing the costs and benefits. Luckily, weighing the costs and benefits of giving the go-ahead for an extension of transmission cables for the South Coast wind facility is not one of those very difficult choices. The benefits of the project far outweigh the costs of continuing our current path of relying primarily on fossil fuels. In Rhode Island, according to NOAA data, there were 33 weather/climate disasters that caused more than $1 billion in damage between 1980 and 1924. Over those 44 years, the average annual for one of these events was 0.7. So on average, over those 44 years, there was 0.7 of such events. In the last 5 years, or the 5 years from 2020, sorry, I'm showing my age, from 2020 to 2024, the yearly average of these billion-dollar-plus climate storms and events more than doubled to 1.8 per year. From December of 2022 to January of 2024, that's barely 14 months, there were 4 severe climate events/storms, tornadoes, etc., that caused, in total, they caused $9 billion in damage. The tornado and windstorm of January 2024 alone caused $2.8 billion in damage to homes in Rhode Island, and this is just Rhode Island, homes, property, lives, well-being, infrastructure, etc. If you combine the storm of December 2023, that's over $4 billion in just a couple months in damage. But let's also think beyond just the financial costs of these events. The costs that can't be calculated in dollars. The lost lives, damaged homes or lost homes, the loss of personal belongings, family photos, children's toys, everything that gives a person an identity and a sense of themselves and their history, just lost. Imagine just losing everything in your home. That's happening just constantly every day. We're reading about it every single day in the news. So these are the damages and the pain that our Rhode Island, our friends, our family, our neighbors, our colleagues are experiencing here in Rhode Island, but around the country, everywhere. We hear about it constantly. We can't keep treating these costs of climate change as disconnected from our own choices about what kind of energy we use. right? These are not externalities to those costs. They are part of the equation. FEMA paid out $4.1 million to individuals and businesses in Rhode Island alone for just the December 2023 storm, and $8.8 million for the January 2024 storm. What if the federal government takes less responsibility, which looks like it's going to happen? Just today in a hearing in Congress, the head of FEMA said that very same thing. States are going to have to take more responsibility. That's going to be Rhode Island taxpayers paying for these damages. Enabling the extension of this transmission line for Southwest Coast is the right thing for Rhode Island. It's also the right thing for us as Rhode Islanders in our responsibility to our friends and our families and our loved ones who live all around the country. We're all in this together in this country. The project has been through a very long and vigorous environmental assessment. The costs and benefits are clear. The benefits far outweigh the costs. Please, I'm asking the board to do the right thing for Rhode Island, but also for our country. The project has been in the making since 2018. It's time to let it have all the approvals it needs for Rhode Island. Thank you so much.
Next name I have.
My name is David Brunetti from Burrillville, Rhode Island, up in the northwest corner of the state. I'm also a volunteer member of Climate Action Rhode Island. During testimony this evening, people will or have already provided you with comments as to why you should or should not approve this project based upon benefits, impacts, etc. I would like to take this opportunity to convey and remind you of why the state of Rhode Island has a need for you to approve this project. Back in April 2021, the Act on Climate legislation was signed into law, thereby setting enforceable climate emissions reductions mandates, including our pioneering statutory target of reaching 100% renewable electricity by 2033. As you are aware, this chosen cable route and construction plan meet all state and federal permitting requirements, and they're part of a project that has undergone many years of exhaustive environmental review with multiple layers of state and federal oversight. We as a state need to have this important segment of the process approved by you. Without such approval, Rhode Island will fall far short of meeting its statutory target. Keeping in mind the extensive period to get us to this point, without your approval of this segment of the project to install the necessary submarine transmission cable at this location to bring energy from the South Coast Wind Project ashore, it is an almost certainty that we as a state will not only fail to meet the target of 100% renewable electricity by 2033, but we will also fail to meet the mandate of net zero emissions by 2050. Therefore, I urge you to approve this segment of the project and to do so without delay, so that Rhode Island can continue to be a leader in the United States in the necessary effort to address the ongoing and future impacts of climate change on all of us, all life on Earth. For those concerned about the impacts from offshore wind, let me remind you about the impacts from the current source of energy supply on wildlife, etc.
Yeah.
In addition to the well-known major oil spills such as the Exxon Valdez and Deepwater Horizon, which was about 134 million gallons of oil spilled, destroying the Gulf, other major and minor spills occur frequently every year, which wreak havoc with wildlife. What I'm not hearing this evening from people who oppose this project are alternatives to offshore wind to address the current and future impacts from climate change.
Nuclear.
Thank you for this opportunity to provide you with my comments.
Reduce, reuse.
Yeah, it's Gare Gagnon, Giguere-Gagnon.
Thank you. In just one moment, and I followed Jesse Kingston and then Thomas Palmer. Go ahead.
Yep, my name is Janine Giguere Gagnon, and I'm here in support of South Coast Wind Energy. I live in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, clear across the state. I believe that South Coast Wind Energy will bring us all the needed energy we need with stable pricing. The stable pricing for energy is something we all need, especially now as our cost for everything is going up. South Coast Wind has responded to the call for renewable energy solutions, and we must approve them now, without delay. Our carbon footprint has created havoc with the environment and the weather all over the world. We have had our share of oppressive weather, high temperatures, high humidity, and flooding in the last month, and it's been going on for a while now. We have to do something about this problem. It will not only get worse for everyone, it will only get worse for everyone, and we can do something about it here, right now. In Woonsocket, all over Rhode Island with the Industrial Revolution, we used the rivers to power our energy needs. Today, we use the wind in our oceans. Unlike back then, the wind turbines will not pollute our oceans as the factories and textile mills polluted our rivers. Also, fossil fuels have been a detriment to our bodies and our environment everywhere. There are leaks in the pipelines, too much carbon in our air, explosions like we saw in the Gulf in Deepwater Horizon in April 2010. Do you remember that? That was on the news for many, many days. And we have Cancer Alley in Louisiana and a high incidence of asthma for people living near highways and cities all over, and so much more. Aren't wind turbines better in the ocean than oil rigs on our shores? I don't live in Portsmouth, but we have cold winters in Woonsocket with a lot of snow, usually more than you get here in Portsmouth. Our summer's air is not cooled by the ocean breezes as you have here. We can complement our solar energy, the need for more energy in the winter and in the evening and at night, which are the best times for wind turbines. This seems like a win-win situation in having both. I'm also a retired union carpenter with Local 330. There will be many union jobs with the construction of the wind turbines that would benefit the Rhode Island economy, and also jobs for the upkeep of the turbines. We need jobs in Rhode Island. We shouldn't refuse any. Last time I was here with the town council approving the $23 million in direct benefits to the town. The approval today will benefit not only Portsmouth, but will give us the infrastructure that will give us the opportunity for clean power for more than 125,000 homes in Rhode Island and more than 800,000 across New England. Please vote yes in support of this proposal. We are the ocean state. Let us use the power of the ocean and the wind. Do not delay. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for letting us speak. It's been very informative. Thomas Palmer, I'm from Newport. The benefits of South Coast Wind's 1,200 megawatt wind facility far outweigh any temporary disruption to human and marine life in Rhode Island coastal waters and on the island itself. It is essential to meet Rhode Island's mandated energy goals, providing enough clean energy for nearly a third of Rhode Island homes. It will create high-paying union jobs in Rhode Island. It will stabilize and eventually lower the cost of electricity in Rhode Island. It will reduce toxic emissions as it replaces fossil fuels as a source of power generation. I am proud of Rhode Island being at the forefront of wind energy construction and production. The federal government has turned its back on our future. It is now up to the state of Rhode Island and its citizens to mitigate the worst impacts of climate change, to take responsibility for the health and well-being of ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. As a resident of Aquidneck, I urge you to allow this project to move forward. And I would also just like to add, as a Newport resident, the issue of tourism came up. And I just tried to get across town yesterday. It took 45 minutes. I don't think Revolution Wind has had any impact at all on the number of people that are coming to Newport.
It's your turn. Before you start, we have Erica Hammond and Anthony Cherry that follow on the list. So the microphone is yours, Mr. Rossi.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Kurtowski and members of the board. My name is Carmine Rossi, and I'm a proud union member out of Labor's Local 271. Currently, I'm an organizer with the Labor's New England Region Organizing Fund. Before organizing, I worked in the field as a laborer and labored for the past 15 years. I helped build one of the country's largest offshore wind farms right here in Rhode Island. I'm a prime example of what a job like this can do for union workers. I worked at Port of Providence for 16 months as a foreman, where hundreds of union workers from multiple union trades were able to work to provide for their families. Because of projects like this, I was also able to provide for my family, with family-sustaining wages, benefits, and health care for not only myself, but my wife and my 5 kids as well. All because of offshore wind, and that's exactly what union is all about. We are a family. On top of all that, we also provide this work. We also prove this work could be done safely, professionally, and with union labor. Now it's time to do it again, and even better. South Coast Wind is the next step. Bigger, bolder, and packed with opportunity. Hundreds of skilled tradespeople ready to go to work. Let us do what we do best. Build for Rhode Island. Build for the future. So vote yes, approve this project, and let us get to work. Thank you. God bless.
Ms. Hammond, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Erica Hammond. It's Hammond. And thank you so much for your time and your patience here tonight. I'm here, my name is Erica Hammond. I'm the Legislative Director with the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. And on behalf of the more than 80,000 union members and their families that we represent across the state, we're here in strong support of South Coast Wind's application that's before you tonight. We have submitted written testimony, so I'll try to make my remarks brief and just hit on some of the most important pieces. South Coast Wind represents more than just a renewable energy project. It's an opportunity for Rhode Island to lead on economic development, on local job creation, while securing our energy independence and delivering lasting socioeconomic benefits to our communities. Through a competitive selection process, South Coast Wind was identified as the best value clean energy option for our region's future. At a time when Rhode Islanders across the state are struggling to pay their bills, their energy bills, the state needs to take swift action to decrease its reliance on fossil fuels. For many years, ratepayers have dealt with the fluctuating summer and winter rates. Our region's overdependence on natural gas increases the volatility and fluctuation of energy prices, which are highly impacted by foreign wars and geopolitical events. This leaves Rhode Island ratepayers vulnerable to utility bills that skyrocket for 6 months out of the year. South Coast Wind gives our region the opportunity to generate local, renewable energy that is predictable and reliable, right here in our backyards. 60 miles off the coast and completely out of sight, South Coast Wind will produce tangible socioeconomic benefits that you will see across the state. The project is projected to generate more than 17,000 job years during the course of construction and operations. These are family-sustaining careers with high wages, strong benefits, and long-term pathways to employment. By committing to the utilization of local union labor and strong labor standards throughout the life of this project, including its operations and maintenance,
The short and long-term socioeconomic benefits will be substantial for all of Rhode Island. Not only do strong labor standards ensure safer working conditions, but study after study has shown that commitments like Project Labor Agreement, Labor Peace Agreements, help infrastructure projects get built on time and on budget with a skilled, trained workforce to get the job done. Additionally, labor standards support strong local economies by creating high-quality jobs that funnel money directly into our local economies. That's our local grocery stores and our small businesses. We are proud to support South Coast Wind Energy's application that's before you tonight, and we thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we'd like for you to support it as well. Thank you.
Harry and Tom. Mr. Cherry?
Good evening. My name is Anthony Cherry, C-H-E-R-R-Y. I'm here this evening on behalf of Build RI. Build RI is the labor management organization that advocates on behalf of the unionized construction industry, including the 10,000 building trades members, many of which, including myself, are property owners throughout the state. I'm here to express our full support for the South Coast Wind Project and urge the Energy Siting Board to grant the necessary approvals to allow this project to move forward. Our members are highly skilled, experienced, and committed to excellence. Many of them have undergone specialized training for offshore wind construction, including safety procedures and the use of advanced technologies that reduce noise and environmental damage. The revolutionary project in the Block Island Wind Farm set a precedent for how our offshore wind can be developed responsibly using local labor while ensuring rigorous environmental protections. Through those projects, we have the model to ensure that the completion of offshore wind projects are done successfully via the implementation of project labor agreements. And we have full confidence that this project will meet the same mark as previously set. PLAs ensure a stable, productive, unionized workforce is ready to deliver this project safely and efficiently, while respecting the community. These agreements guarantee the immediate supply of highly skilled men and women of the building trades who are needed to complete this project. To ensure our members are highly skilled for offshore work, our signatory contractors and the individual locals invest over $6 million annually to ensure the work is being done correctly in accordance to job regulations. Projects like South Coast Wind are essential to our clean energy future. They will help reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, lower greenhouse gas emissions, and deliver reliable, affordable power for our homes and businesses. The men and women of the building trades care deeply about our environment. We live here, our families are here, and enjoy the same beaches, waters, and natural beauties as our neighbors. Our members understand that climate change is a real threat, not just to the environment, but to our economy and our communities and the stability of our jobs. On the local level, we want the community to know that any construction activity in Portsmouth will comply fully with all state and local regulations, including required permits and noise ordinance. The construction industry has advanced tremendously in recent years. We have used modern equipment designed to operate more quietly with fewer emissions, benefiting both the community and workers' health and safety. These measures like noise barriers, limited hours, and precise construction planning protect our neighbors as well as the crews on site. These safeguards and these standard practice procedures on projects of this scale, and our members take pride in executing them to the highest degree. The South Coast Wind Project represents thousands of work hours for our local tradesmen and women, providing good paying, family-supporting wages with benefits. It's an opportunity for local workers to help build our clean energy future while supporting families and strengthening our economy. We cannot overstate how important projects like this are for completing skilled tradespeople, for keeping skilled people employed, maintaining the apprenticeship pipeline, and ensuring RI remains a leader in energy development. I also want to respectfully address some of the concerns raised by by some opponents. While we understand the need for careful review, we too want to ensure that our projects are complied with the local regs and laws. However, we must avoid painting construction as merely disruptive or harmful. We respect our communities. These are our communities. Our industry builds the infrastructure that communities rely on every day. From our power grids to our schools to our hospitals, South Coast Wind is no different. It is a project rooted in safety, environmental responsibility, and economic opportunity. In closing, build our eye and our partners within the unionized construction field firmly believe that South Coast Wind can and should proceed. It is a project that aligns with our climate goals, supports local workers, and upholds the highest standards of safety and environmental stewardship. We urge the board to approve the necessary applications so that we can get to work building not just the turbines and cables, but a sustainable future for all of us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Hi, good evening. I'm Aislinn Hanley, and thank you, board members, for the opportunity to speak tonight and sacrificing a beautiful Wednesday night in the summer to sit here. I'm part of Climate Jobs Rhode Island, which is a growing coalition of unions, climate, and community groups working together to ensure a just transition to a 21st century economy. I'm here in strong support of South Coast permit application. This project is multifold. It holds massive economic opportunity for our state of Rhode Island. This project alone will provide thousands of high-quality, family-sustaining jobs, both in the construction phase as well as the operations and maintenance phase of the project. There will also be job opportunities in our domestic supply chain as well as our local businesses. This infrastructure investment is also a great opportunity because it allows our trades to bring in more apprentices from our communities. Our unions have also spent time, money, and resources to get their members trained and ready for this work. Our skilled trade people in our state are ready and trained to carry out this work. They've maintained our energy systems for decades, and they're ready to maintain our new 21st century energy systems as well. As we've heard, these are family-sustaining wages and great benefits. South Coast has committed to using strong labor standards and local labor throughout the project, meaning huge socioeconomic benefits. They've also agreed to a $23 million community host agreement with the town of Portsmouth that will allow Portsmouth to put that money into community projects that will benefit them. This project will also provide domestic homegrown energy and increase reliability. As some of our folks have spoken tonight, we all felt the impacts of this winter and what happens when we're overly reliant on natural gas and we don't have our local resources. Offshore wind is particularly powerful in the winter, and it will help us guarantee that the lights stay on and keep our homes warm in the coldest season. This project is estimated to power 125,000 homes in Rhode Island alone. It will bring affordable, reliable energy to our communities that need it most. This is a major opportunity we cannot afford to pass up. I am also a lifelong Rhode Island resident. My family has been here for generations. This is where I want to live. We've seen the impacts of climate change both in our cities, on our coast, everywhere here. We've seen the impact of not having enough energy locally here. I remember it was about 2008, I was in the 3rd grade, and I remember being told from that year and every year on that we have to start thinking of solutions and how we're going to handle this crisis. I'm happy today to still be in the state and working to figure out what the solutions to this crisis look like. This is one of the solutions forward. This is how we're going to meet our Act on Climate mandates and how we're going to make progress in solving the climate crisis. This project is good for climate, jobs, and justice. It's good for our workers, it's good for our communities. This project will bring good wages to the state and make sure that our communities stay powered. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I urge you to approve this permit. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman, member of the board. My name is Harrison Antone, A-N-T-O-N-E for the record. I'm proud to serve both as union organizer with the Laborers International Union of North America and the labor liaison for Climate Jobs Rhode Island. I'm also a lifelong Rhode Islander, a resident of a coastal town, and someone who grew up on our shoreline, swimming, fishing, and working summers as a lifeguard. I'm here tonight to express my strong support for the South Coast Wind Project, not just as a labor representative, but as someone deeply rooted in this community and committed to building a better future for Rhode Island's working families. This project represents real opportunities for working people.
As a union organizer, I've seen firsthand the benefits of joining the trades: fair wages, health care, retirement security, safety, and dignity. I've spoken with members who are living paycheck to paycheck before joining a union. And now they own homes, are sending their kids to college, and finally feel stable after years of uncertainty. I've also worked with members who were previously incarcerated, and now they're helping build our state's infrastructure and giving back to their communities. That's what this project can offer: family-supporting union jobs, real career pathways, and a shot at economic justice. And it's not just the construction jobs, as stated earlier. This project creates pathways across the entire clean energy economy: operations, maintenance, manufacturing. If we do this right with strong labor standards like project labor agreements, labor peace agreements, and local hiring, South Coast Wind will become a model for how to transition to clean energy in a way that uplifts workers and not leaves them behind. I'm here tonight with my union brothers and sisters because this project means jobs for us. It means food on our table, health care for our children, and safety and stability for our families. That is what is at stake. This project is about people's lives, livelihoods, and a future we're building together. But my support isn't just about jobs, it's personal. I grew up going to the beach in Rhode Island. I was a lifeguard during the summers, watching our coastlines, keeping people safe. But over the years, I've seen our coastlines change. I've seen flooding get worse, the erosion, storms that hit harder and more often. Climate change isn't abstract. It's something I've watched unfold in my own backyard. Now, I'm under no illusion that this one project solves the climate crisis, but I also know we can't ask Rhode Island to sit on the sidelines. Projects like South Coast Wind are how we do our part, how we reduce emissions, and how we do it in a way that lifts people up through good jobs and strong labor standards. This project is thoughtfully designed and minimizes community impact. It includes critical investments in Portsmouth and the local workforce. It reflects what climate action should look like: practical, fair, and built by the people who live here. I urge you to move this project forward. Let's build a cleaner, more equitable future right here in Rhode Island. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Dunderdale, D-U-N-D-E-R-D-A-L-E. I am the business manager for Local 56, Pile Drivers and Divers. I'm here to talk about horizontal drilling and the standards and the methods that have been used for decades in urban and suburban environments. It's especially designed to minimize surface disruption, and you're not going to see open trenches while this is going. The technique has allowed us to install infrastructure without disturbing roadways, driveways, and natural features. It is used in places with schools, parks, homes, and beaches. This isn't experimental technology. Our members are highly skilled professionals trained to perform HDD safely, efficiently, with minimal community impact. We discussed with community impact, discussing procedures and protocols to protect the surrounding environments. This project has gone above and beyond to site the cable routes along the existing routes, making sure to avoid sensitive areas and reducing any disruptive impacts. Both entry and exit points for the HDD are located carefully selected low-impact areas. These designs are engineered to respect the community and make sure that we do not disturb the people that we are working within the areas that we're working in. As a union pile driver, we see this an example as renewable, responsible, clean energy development that should be this should look like. Rhode Islanders want clean power, but they also want good local jobs and minimal neighborhood impact. This project delivers all three. We are not just building infrastructure, we are building a clean energy economy that includes working people and protects the community. Thank you for your time.
Lydzek, and then Craig Gaspard.
Thank you, Chair Kurtowski, members of the committee. My name is Christian Roseland. I am the leader of Climate Action Rhode Island's Yes to Win campaign, and in my day job, I'm an energy policy analyst. So I'm in a position to evaluate some of the claims that have been made here tonight, many of which are completely bogus. I want to note that I strongly support and urge you to approve the South Coast Wind project. It is in the public interest, it is needed, and the benefits far outweigh the temporary inconvenience, which is about all we can say for the negative environmental impacts of this project. There are many benefits, but my testimony will focus on reliability, cost, and state law. First, as we all know, we have a very high dependence on natural gas in this region. And yes, I'm speaking about the Independent System Operator New England grid, the ISO New England grid. It's roughly half of that power is supplied by natural gas, and roughly half of our heating in the region. This creates big problems in the winter, which we experienced last winter with limited supply via pipeline. Experts, and I have interviewed quite a few about grid reliability back when I was a journalist, all note that the best way to have a reliable grid is to have a variety of sources. Yet our dependence upon a single source, natural gas, is the biggest threat currently to reliability, and any expert testimony that you see will confirm that. Offshore wind is very well suited to address this problem, as it generates more power in the winter, and as well demonstrated by the output records of the Block Island wind farm, by other operating wind farms in the similar area to this lease, and by wind speed measurements, generates more power when it's cold. There's a 2021 study by consultancy DNVGL that I'll be attaching in my written testimony that will address that. As a result of this, in 2024, Union of Concerned Scientists issued a study that found that Vineyard Wind, had it been online 3 years earlier, would have reduced elevated blackout risks in 42% of the days that they were present. Now, I also know that people here like to quote ISO New England, but if you read, and I encourage you to do this, ISO New England CEO Gordon Van Wheely's testimony before Congress in March, he speaks to the substantial reliability benefits of offshore wind and expresses doubt that we are going to be able to maintain a reliable grid without bringing this and other resources online soon. This is notable because when we look at sources of winter power that we can bring online, offshore wind is about it. The opponents of this project would like to cite small nuclear reactors. Last time I checked, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission had not issued licenses for any. We don't know how long they will take to build. We do know that the last nuclear power plant built in the United States took 14 and a half years of construction time. That was the Vogtle units down in Georgia. They also generated electricity at they are generating electricity at around 18 to 19 cents a kilowatt hour, 180 to 190 a megawatt hour, which is more expensive than any of the offshore wind bids that we've considered. And let's talk about cost. Our high costs in this region are driven by our high dependence on natural gas. We have a limited supply, and we're highly dependent on this resource. Gas is the marginal cost. You might learn something here if you don't interrupt me. Gas is the marginal cost resource on our electricity system. It's the one that chooses to generate or not generate, and thus sets the power price on our wholesale market. Offshore wind, again generating mostly in winter, when prices are highest, can limit those price spikes and stabilize power prices. Furthermore, it's a zero marginal cost resource. And what that means is it has no fuel costs, so it bids into the ISO New England grid at zero. That means that it suppresses the prices of all other generators when operating. Now, I was going to speak to state law, but I think you're familiar with the Act on Climate and 100% renewable energy mandate. So instead, I'm going to focus on, I'll use the rest of my testimony to speak to some of the misinformation that has been put forward. If you read page A66 of Vineyard Wind's final environmental impact statement, you will see that it says that this plant will have no negative impact on climate change, that it will not contribute to climate change. And it also, you will note there, and this is something that has conveniently been left out by the opponents of this project, will, combined with other resources, will have a moderate effect on reducing the impacts of the climate crisis. We know that no single project, we know that no single resource is going to solve this problem. We've deployed a lot of solar, but we don't yet have winter power. So, the experts have spoken, and what they have said is that the South Coast Wind Project and projects like it are needed for grid reliability. They are needed to contain high winter power costs, and this makes them definitely in the public interest. They are also needed to reduce our dependency on fossil fuels and thus to address the climate crisis. Thank you for your time.
Rosenek, I'm sorry, again.
No, it's fine.
I'm getting tired.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel Rosenek. That's Roseneck. I'm a resident and property owner that matters of Rhode Island. I want to thank the EFSP board for being here tonight and taking this time to hear all of us speak. I'm here to voice my strong support for the South Coast Wind Project. Rhode Island and the broader New England region are facing a real challenge. Demand for electricity is rising, yet our grid is aging, and we remain too dependent on expensive, polluting fossil fuels, especially peaker plants that are extremely expensive to run and very harmful to public health. It's no question, we need new, reliable sources of power that can be built now and serve us well into the future. South Coast Wind offers a practical and much-needed solution. It will deliver 1,200 megawatts of emission-free, reliable electricity to the New England grid, enough to power 800,000 homes, including 125,000 Rhode Island homes. That's more than a quarter of the homes in the entire state. That's not just impressive, it's essential. Without projects like this, we simply won't have enough capacity to meet our energy needs. From an affordability standpoint, this project makes sense. Offshore wind offers long-term, fixed-price contracts. That means Rhode Islanders are better shielded from market shocks and price volatility. We've already seen how global instability can cause our energy bills to skyrocket. If we rely only on solutions like natural gas, we are at risk of fluctuating, unpredictable energy costs. South Coast Wind will help insulate us from that. It replaces costly fossil fuel generation with stable, American-made energy, and that will ultimately save Rhode Islanders money. The project also adheres to strict regulatory standards. It's been subject to extensive, rigorous environmental and permitting reviews. The underground and undersea cables will be installed using horizontal directional drilling, which is a proven method that avoids disruption to our beaches and to our coastal ecosystems. This is safe and well-established infrastructure. It's far less invasive than pipelines or new fossil fuel facilities. I also want to address that there's been a lot of misinformation about environmental risks that are rooted in myths and propaganda funded by outside groups aligned with the fossil fuel industry. The fact is, scientists and marine experts overwhelmingly agree that offshore wind is not a threat to ocean life. These are projects that have been built and operated successfully, in some cases for decades in other areas of the world like Europe and Asia. In fact, the biggest environmental risk we face is doing nothing, continuing to burn fossil fuels and delaying better solutions we desperately need. Let's also not forget about the economic opportunity. As you've heard, this project supports local jobs, builds Rhode Island's workforce, and creates a strong supply chain of jobs and businesses in our coastal communities. This is not going to harm our fishing industry. In fact, it's going to enhance and strengthen our coastal economies. It's an investment not just in energy infrastructure, but in the future of our coastal communities. No other energy resource is going to bring this level of economic development to our region. We know more power generation is needed. The question is how we build it. As a relatively young person who would like to raise a family here in Rhode Island, I want to see Rhode Island empower and embrace innovation, embrace low-cost energy, and embrace real solutions to air quality and public health. We have the opportunity to move forward on a solution that will, without any doubt, offer cleaner air, more cost stability, enhance our energy security, and create economic growth for our coastal communities. There's no backup plan or project that comes close to offering these kind of solutions that our region desperately needs. There's no nuclear project, no other project that's offering this kind of economic investment and other benefits for the region. So I urge the board to move forward with the South Coast Wind Project. Thank you for your time.
It's Terry Cortbrand.
Okay.
I'll spell my last name for you. C-O-R-T-V-R-I-E-N-D. I am a resident of Portsmouth.
Representative, I apologize.
I'm a state representative.
Yes.
I'm a small business owner in Portsmouth in the marine trades. I can attest that already my small business has been one of those beneficiaries of offshore wind. I have companies coming to me that never came to me before that are buying our products. So I just wanted that in the record. But I'm also here tonight to read a letter that we put together, colleagues in the House, that was written by Rep. Jim Boyland last week, and it is signed by 24 representatives and 11 senators. You have it in your written documents, but I would like to put it on the record, in the oral record. So, dear Chairman Garwitowski, Director Gray, and Director Brady, we thank you for being here tonight. As members of the Rhode Island General Assembly, we write in strong support of South Coast Wind's application to construct major energy facilities that will provide clean, reliable, and locally generated electricity to the New England grid. In 2021, we enacted the Act on Climate, committing Rhode Island to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 45% below 1990 levels by 2030, and to reach net zero emissions by 2050. To comply with this law, significant reductions in the electricity sector are essential. Offshore wind is the most sustainable and scalable source of new, clean electricity available to Rhode Island and the broader New England region. The South Coast Wind Project alone is expected to avoid more than 4 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent emissions annually, a major and necessary step toward meeting the Act on Climate. In addition to complying with the Act on Climate, the South Coast Wind Project will deliver several economic and energy benefits to our state. It will create 17,000 local job years during construction and operation, with a commitment to employing local union labor. The project will also increase energy independence and provide greater cost stability for Rhode Island. New England's reliance on imported fossil fuels have left us vulnerable to price spikes from fossil fuel price volatility. South Coast Wind will provide a domestic source of power at a fixed price that protects ratepayers from fossil fuel price spikes. The project is expected to generate $3.8 billion in new economic activity across our region, including investments in environmental justice communities. Additionally, the project includes a $23 million host community agreement with the town of Portsmouth, providing direct local investment. Rhode Island has a proud history of offshore wind leadership, and the South Coast Wind Project is a critical next step to secure our energy future, reduce emissions in line with the Act on Climate, and grow our clean energy economy. We respectfully urge you to approve this application and to help ensure that Rhode Island continues to lead on offshore wind. We thank you for your consideration. And 2 more senators were contacted today and have added their name, or would like their name added, but that's not in your written record right now, but I can provide those names to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
My name is Michelle McGaugh, and I am a Portsmouth resident. I live right near where the project is to occur. And I just want to say that I recognize the importance of this issue for the people of Rhode Island, for the people of Portsmouth, for the people of New England, and also to the people around the globe. So I want to thank those of us who have been so involved in this process from the very beginning. We've had a number of meetings, locally and not so locally, to take a lot of feedback from those of you, and I appreciate that. I know you submitted your comments and your concerns so that they could be evaluated, and the proposal could be amended to accommodate your concerns. You spoke, people listened, they studied the information you provided, and in some cases they have actually amended the proposal. So I thank you for your input on this as we've gone along the process. You had concerns about electromagnetic fields. So I went through, I did look, there was a letter submitted to this body regarding electromagnetic fields, where they concluded that the magnetic fields were too weak to impact health. That's in the testimony from the Department of Health. You had concerns about sediment during the installation process. Also in that letter from the Rhode Island Department of Health, it says that known sources of soil contaminants are far enough away from the proposed route to not increase health risks. I heard concerns about cost, and although the power purchase agreement hasn't been finalized, we can look to Vineyard Wind, which was priced at 7 cents per kilowatt hour. Revolution Wind was priced at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. And I compare that to the rates that were just released yesterday by Rhode Island Energy for the upcoming winter season that will be 16.4 cents per kilowatt hour. So instead of negotiating prices every 6 months, a power purchase agreement would be contracted for 10 to 25 years, providing greater stability. You shared your concerns about marine life. And the project, as I read it, is taking into account those concerns and doing all that they can to minimize any potential harms to marine life. I heard discussion tonight about concerns about decommissioning and what would happen with decommissioning. And it's my understanding that prior to the start of construction, that South Coast Wind would have to submit a bond to be held by the US government to cover the cost of decommissioning. So as we face rising energy costs year after year relative to the instability in the fossil fuel market, a locally procured, price-stable source will provide greater stability to ratepayers. We've heard that the change in the facility policy should maybe make us rethink what we're doing. It's my belief that that's the very reason that that states like Rhode Island need to take the lead. We can't wait. We don't have time to wait for a new federal administration. With so much information to wade through, I'm inclined to make particular note of the hundreds of global scientists from 195 countries that authored the IPCC report. They concluded that wind energy is an important component to mitigating the risks of our changing climate. So I'll end with the words of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who said, "Renewables are the smart way to go for energy security." Thank you.
My last name is spelled L-I. My name is Evan Lee. I'm 18 years old and I'm a student here at Rhode Island. I stand here in strong support of the South Coast Wind Project. As a young person, my future, not only in Rhode Island, but in this country, hinges on projects like it. So to see people clap when a speaker suggests that we can't do anything about climate change, or when another says that we should just roll over and die because Trump's executive orders told us to, is quite disheartening. I want you to look me and every young person in your life in the eyes and that say that you, as our parents, grandparents, and teachers, will do nothing about climate change, that you will abandon us in this fight for a livable future, that you will not even consider giving renewable energies a shot because their construction inconveniences you. The transition to green energy facilitated by offshore wind projects and other renewable energies is non-negotiable if we want our state, our kids, and our futures to stay above the water. I understand that there are concerns around this project, about disruptions to communities and wildlife during construction. I understand that wind technology may seem a bit scary, but it's vital. Yes, this project on its own will not solve all of climate change, but as the flimsy alternatives offered by those who oppose the wind project show and make clear, there is no other alternative. Without projects like the South Coast Wind, we risk not only losing a reliable and clean energy source for over a quarter of homes in the state and the opportunity to create 17,000 jobs, but more importantly, we risk our homes and communities, the parks and streets we grew up in. Instead of having to endure temporary disruptions, we risk having to permanently endure the terrifying consequences of a warming world. We risk the future generations who dream of calling Rhode Island their home. This project is key to meeting Rhode Island's climate and energy goals and delivering countless green jobs and millions in economic benefits to our communities. These underground transmission lines are a proven, safe, and reliable technology, and South Coast has taken comprehensive efforts to ensure that they are sited and installed responsibly, protecting people and our environment. The biggest threat to our home won't be 8 days of construction, nor will it be underground cabling, a technology that has been safely implemented across the United States and the world. It's rising sea levels that are eroding our shores. It's the unbearable heat killing our neighbors. It's climate change and our continued reliance on fossil fuel, not offshore wind. Thank you.
Yes?
Yes, my name is Gary Sabula. My last name is spelled S-A-B-U-L-A. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Several decades ago, I read a scientific assertion that climate change, commonly referred to at that time as global warming, is the greatest threat to the survival of life on this planet. Rising CO2 levels and global temperatures, with corresponding storms, floods, and wildfires of increasing intensity, now support this assertion. Insurance companies recognize this. My homeowner's insurance premiums have been increasing accordingly, and perhaps yours have as well. Many insurance companies have stopped offering insurance in coastal areas. More dramatically, people living halfway around the world in coastal Bangladesh and on small Pacific islands are being displaced by rising sea levels. They're losing their homes. Most of them do not have homeowners insurance. We can and we must do more to combat climate change. Transitioning from fossil fuels to renewables, such as wind and solar, are essential steps we can take. In this region, the South Coast Wind Project will help meet Rhode Island's ambitious and necessary renewable energy goals by delivering enough clean, reliable electricity to power 800,000 homes, including 125,000 homes in Rhode Island, at stable, predictable prices. Cables run under the seabed of Rhode Island waters and Mount Hope Bay will use proven, state-of-the-art technology with minimal disruption and will include millions of dollars in lease payments to the state. As with any other major utility project, cable installation across Portsmouth will cause some degree of disruption, which South Coast wind planners have made many efforts to minimize. In addition, their agreement with Portsmouth includes a multi-million-dollar post-community payment to the town. Overall, the project will support important goals of state agencies, create thousands of jobs, and generate billions in new economic activity. The effects of climate change are sometimes difficult to appreciate. A few degrees in global temperature rise sounds almost inconsequential, especially with the beautiful weather we've been enjoying this week. But many decades of data collection and analysis and increasingly intense weather events around the world confirm the scientific consensus that we have only a very short time to act in order to maybe 10 years of serious activity to prevent the worst effects of climate change. We can do this. Therefore, I strongly urge this board to approve the Rhode Island portion of the South Coast Wind Project so that the overall project can move forward without delay. Thank you.
Thank you all for taking the time to come to this meeting. I appreciate that maybe half of the people. Oh, okay. Thank you all for coming to the meeting tonight. I appreciate that almost half of the people who originally showed up are still here paying attention. I think the most important thing about sessions like this is a chance to learn. I've attended a number of these sessions in Portsmouth. I learned something every time, and I think it's important in that learning to try to sift through scientific truths and things that people tell you to influence your mind and opinion. So an earlier speaker pointed out that it's important to read, and I want to encourage everybody here to process the things you've heard and read underlying documents on this. Specifically, there's a document from the Vineyard Wind Project and a reference to an appendix A66, which has been cited as proof that offshore wind projects will not make a difference in climate change. That's not what it says. So for those of you who've heard that, I think you all should find that document. I don't want to encourage you to open up all those because there are thousands of pages. I've read thousands of those poem pages, but go to Vineyard Wind, A66, read it, interpret it, and recognize that some of the things that you heard about that are not true. I don't want to go into any specific details on any other references, but read, think, and don't let someone plant sound bites or fears in your head that influence your decisions. And this is really important for you at the EFSB, because this is a really good opportunity for you guys to learn. Thank you. In fact, I'd rather sit there than sit there. Second point I want to make is fossil fuel combustion is destroying the oceans. There is no question about it. If you read the IPCC reports, the scientists in great conformity identify how fossil fuels are destroying our oceans. By heating them, acidifying them, and they are now starting to disrupt the major ocean currents of the Earth. This is particularly occurring in Antarctica. Take some time and read about that. It's pretty well documented. When the major ocean currents of the Earth are being destroyed, it's going to be an environmental mess. There are issues, and I'm not talking about the Gulf Stream. These are called ocean meridional currents. They're the currents that keep Europe warm from heat transported out of the tropical zones. This offshore wind decision is not simple. There's a lot of aspects to it, but again, that reason to read and think and don't have someone plant sound bites in your head is really important. So the heating of the oceans is a mandate to slow down climate change. In Rhode Island, the Act on Climate 2021 and the 2022 100% renewable laws are also a mandate to promote and increase renewables and get off of fossil fuels. By approving South Coast project, Rhode Island will generate lower cost power in-state versus importing fossil fuels. By building these projects here, we will increase the state economy and create jobs here instead of supporting jobs in the fossil fuel producing states. It's a no-brainer. We should be doing this for us and our state. So I wish I was the last person to speak because you could go, but there are many more. So for those 3 points made, I encourage the EFSB to approve the application. Thank you.
So my understanding is a teacher.
My name is Joel Gates, Last name is Gates. I'm a resident of Gloucester, Rhode Island. Thank you to the board for hanging in there. I'll make this quick. I'm here in support of the South Coast Wind Energy Project. We are in the midst of a climate crisis, and we are not doing enough to avoid the worst effects of a dangerously warming planet. The South Coast Wind Project is one of the solutions available to Rhode Island so we can meet our energy needs and comply with the Act on Climate Mandates. And I'd like to deviate a moment from my notes here and just quote Alex Kuffner's article in today's paper, which is announcing Rhode Island Energy's winter electric rates. And I quote, "For many years now, rates have followed an annual pattern of rising in the winter and going down in the summer. That's because New England has an overdependence on natural gas for energy and a constrained pipeline system. Demand climbs in the winter on the back of heating needs and ebbs in the summer as temperatures climb." So that, then, end quote. Back to my notes here. So that begs the question, how effective will this project be in satisfying Rhode Island's energy needs? First, coastal New England is home to some of the strongest and consistent winds in the nation. Second, the winds in the South Coast lease area are strongest in the winter and at night. So the energy produced will be the perfect complement to daytime solar generation and to Rhode Island's limited and expensive gas supply. The South Coast Wind Project will help prevent electric supply disruptions and energy price spikes. Yes, wind is an intermittent resource, but with the energy generated by South Coast Wind and other offshore wind projects, we'll be less reliant on polluting gas-fired power plants. Will the output from South Coast Wind be effective in supplying energy to Rhode Island's grid? Power Magazine, an energy generation industry publication, announced earlier this month that the South Fork Wind Project, also off the Rhode Island coast, has been named their plant of the year. South Fork Wind is the first commercial-scale offshore wind farm in U.S. federal waters. It has been operational for over a year and has exceeded generational output expectations. In fact, the South Fork Wind achieved a 56% capacity factor, surpassing projections. Since these two wind farms, South Coast and South Fork, are in Rhode Island, Massachusetts wind energy area, we can expect similar results from the South Coast Wind Project. It will generate substantial renewable energy for our growing needs. Finally, Rhode Island is ideally positioned to take advantage of this nearby and abundant natural resource that South Coast will harness for our future. Thank you.
Followed by John Numberdale and Paul Francis Kessin. Paul Francis Kessin is one person.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of the application tonight. My name is Hans Scholl, S-C-H-O-L-L. I'm a resident of Barrington, Rhode Island. I'm also a father and a grandfather, and I'm deeply concerned about the impact of extreme weather on us, on future generations, and on the places we love. Climate change is not a hoax. We are all experiencing that temperatures are rising to new record highs every year, and storms and flooding are getting more severe and damaging. Connecting the South Coast Wind Farm to our grid through the proposed cable is one of the biggest actions we can take to do something about this. It will allow to transmit 1,200 megawatts of abundant, clean, renewable energy into our grid. This is enough to power 800,000 homes and to reduce carbon emissions by 4 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. We are not talking about incremental impact. This is big. The cable and the wind farm it enables will let us meet our renewable energy and climate goals improve grid reliability, stabilize electric rates, have minimal environmental impact, and help our economy by creating a large number of jobs for the renewable future. This project checks all the boxes. Are there unacceptable risks? As much as the opposition wants us to believe, there really is no monster in the closet. Other countries and regions in the world have been doing offshore wind for decades by now. We should learn from them and see what they experienced, and there is no harm. When reading the entirety of the documents related to the application and also the federal permits, it is obvious that the project has gone through an extensive review process that assured that all regulatory requirements are met and relevant risks and impacts are either avoided or minimized to an acceptable level. But most importantly, the review and approval process is strictly fact and science-based. There is no room for conspiracy theories. I'm confident that you will decide based on science and facts and not be swayed by the disinformation of the oil and gas industry, nor by local opposition, which is parroting this disinformation and often acts from a not in my backyard mentality that puts individual preference before the common interest and benefit of all Rhode Islanders. I'm confident that it will protect us, our children and grandchildren, and our state from avoidable harm by seizing the opportunity to transmit substantial amounts of clean, affordable, renewable electricity from offshore wind to the benefit of all Rhode Islanders. Please approve the application. Thank you.
Next speaker, John.
Thank you again for coming and staying so long. My name is Louisa Boatwright. I'm from Newport, Rhode Island. And I agree with some of the comments earlier, like we really need to reduce our energy use. I have a Prius, the fourth I have. I do all I can to reduce it, but energy use is just going up and up. Aquidneck Island has a real problem with gas on the island. We don't have any more capacity for that, so it's kind of an issue for those of us who live on Aquidneck Island. I am a yes to wind, and I'm a yes to South Coast wind. I see renewable energy as something that will help our Mother Earth. There are significant scientific evidence that fossil fuels have hurt the Earth. They've hurt our oceans significantly, increased salinity, increased ocean temperatures. We have severe weather happening, wildfires everywhere, flash flooding, massive flooding going on, very little snow in the winter. This is, I'm an old person, but we really have to protect our Earth for our children and for plants and animals and all humans. And I'm very worried about our Earth. I'm not one of those who wants to just let it fail. So I think that we really have to lean into renewable energy. A fact on renewable wind, my daughter is an oceanographer. She was in Germany, just talking about that. They have over 2,500 offshore wind turbines in the North Sea, and they have been there for over 20 years in many cases. They found that there is an increase in plant and animal life on the turbine foundations and by the churning of the water, and so it reduces the temperature so you don't have layering of temperature. It increases the mixing of nutrients, and it has really helped the plant and animal life there, like I said, to 30 to 50%. And I think that's an important fact. The other thing that I want to say is that we do live in a democracy, not in a
autocracy. And when the IRA and the clean energy initiatives were put together, that was a bipartisan bill. And I think we should really move forward in this because I think it's a critical area that we need to, again, in the state of Rhode Island, work to the Act on Climate and what its goals are. Thank you.
Thank everyone for being with. We still have quite a few people left, even though it's not as many as we started with. Thank you very much. And I just want to say I really appreciate everyone in good faith trying to stick to the 5-minute rule. If I hadn't done that, there'd still be 20 people on the list. So, you know, if you had cooperated, so I appreciate that. There are going to be evidentiary hearings in August. There are many dates that have been put on the schedule, but they're just there to make sure that we have enough dates to finish the proceedings. And so we accept written commentary right up to the last day that we have to make the decision. Thank you very much.